Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and Brad and I are continuing our top 100 games of all time in 2023, even though right now it is 2024, but so be it. We are in the top third section still, 80 through 71, inching ever closer to some much better games that everyone actually knows about.
We'll see.
This, right, this segment for me is a little all over the place. I have three that rose, two new ones, and five that fell.
I have two new ones and all the rest fell.
All the rest fell.
Yep.
You need to play some more older games. Speaking of older games, in your last list, I think you had Istanbul.
Mm-hmm.
Since then, I've actually played it. Like, I made it a point to play Istanbul again. That game is super solid.
It is. I love it.
It's so good. Like, I was just like, I was actually teaching a friend, and I'm like, yeah, just the elegance of this game is so nice with how easy it is to learn. Anyway, that was on the last list, and no one cares about that one anymore. So let's go ahead and talk about my number 80, which is one of the few that rose. Last year it was 95, and in 2021 it was 86. And I can see it kind of sitting around this. I think it rose this year because they kind of came out with a new version of it. One that I think is really good, but I wouldn't ever like replace this game for that one. And that is Sagrada. Speaking of Barcelona, here we are with the with the most beautiful windows that I've ever seen. Sagrada, and the reason why it rose is because they made Sagrada Artisans, which is like the coloring book game. And it basically does this exact same thing, except you color instead of place dice, and it is replayable after you're done kind of going through the small campaign. It was a very nice, fun time, very relaxing. Sagrada is one of the few dice drafting games that I think I remember playing, and it kind of took, whenever it was released, like a lot of people were looking for it. It was very hard to get a hold of. And it's inherently very simple. You take turns drafting different colored dice and placing them in your windows orthogonally adjacent to where you've already placed dice, while trying to make sure that you don't place dice of the same color or of the same number adjacent to one another. So it has that puzzle aspect and spatial awareness on top of the fact that you're trying to compete for public and private objectives. So at the end of the game, you will have the most points. And that element of just hoping certain dice colors come out, hoping that you're going to be drafting at the right time so you can get the color that you need, and if you can't, what you can do with it, because they have tools that you can use which help mitigate like colors or placement or just the rules, but you give away points to be able to use them. They have a ton of expansions for this, a lot of mini expansions, but that add more complexity to the game. But I have taught this game so many times, and usually when I'm teaching it, people want to go out and get their own copy because it's just a very pleasant game. Like, something about this one just really like hits that nerve in a lot of people when they're wanting to just kind of have a casual kind of game night. And yeah, this one's been in my collection. Floodgate Games isn't always a hit for me, but they're more hit than miss for some of their games. And I just remember being gifted a copy by the founder, I guess, of Floodgate years ago at Gen Con. And to this day, every time I go to Gen Con, I always swing by to say hi. It's a good time. So that is my number 80, Sagrada.
Yeah, I was one of the people you showed this to that went and bought it. So
see, it's what I do. My friend Keith, him and his wife went out and bought it. It's just great.
Yep. All right. Well, my number 80 is one of my two new ones on this section. And it's kind of surprised me because this is a game that has been well talked about. Like Tom Vassell loves this game. Like this is one of his favorite games of all time. I like the designer of this game, but this is one of his games that kind of is different from a lot of his other ones that most people know. And that is
Oh.
um most of his games, a little lately, especially, it's the whole polyomino,
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. This one, where it still has some of the mechanics, like you still have to feed your people and stuff like that. It's not as brutal as well, shit, the farming one. Can't think of the damn name.
Agricola.
Agricola. I kept wanting to say Alhambra, but
Oh yeah,
but
that brutal
yeah,
Alhambra game.
but in this one, pretty much what you're doing is it's kind of has like I guess kind of a city building kind of thing because you are working on a port, a harbor, and you're going to end up buying buildings or using buildings. And it's got that one mechanic, where if somebody uses your buildings, they have to pay an entry fee to use your building for its action and stuff. It's kind of been used in worker placement a lot. But you on your turn, you have two things you do on your turn. You put out new goods in the offer spaces, so refill those up, and then you take an action. You can take an action to take all the goods from a space, or you can take an action to um do a building, sell goods, whatever. And it doesn't look like much. Like this game is not a beautiful game by any means. It's one that they have really cool, those geek up bits or whatever,
Oh yeah.
all the resources. I would get those if I was playing this game more. This is one of those games I've played a couple times. I know it's good. That's why it's here on this list. I don't know where it's going to be next year. It just depends on
Have
how
they
much I
done, is
play it.
this the only version of this game, or have they done like a deluxe edition?
I don't think they've done a deluxe version. I mean, there's expansions and stuff, and you
Yeah.
get the bits to upgrade it and stuff. But
The reason why I looked it up is one, it's came out in 2008, and the expansions all seem to have came out in 2010. I was
yeah,
just thinking like, oh, I wouldn't be surprised if they went and did like you know how they have La Granja,
hmm
how they did that deluxe master set. I wouldn't be surprised if they did that for Le Havre.
yeah. I don't know if any of have has there been any game of those of this designer's
Uwe?
Uwe. I don't know
I
if he
guess
has
not.
many of those that
Yeah.
have done that. So I don't know. But like I said, it doesn't look that exciting necessarily. But when you sit down and you play it with the mechanics and all that stuff, it actually is a really solid game. And this is Tom Vassell's favorite, like Uwe Rosenberg game,
Yeah.
and it was his number one for a few
Past
years
couple
and
years,
stuff.
I remember
Yeah.
that.
So this is one I want to try more, just to really dig into it more. But as of right now, it's sitting here at 80, and it's a good one.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, I'll add this to our ever-growing list. I haven't played this one. I haven't even played Agricola or Caverna. Um,
You would like you Agricola is you can just bypass that in my opinion. I mean, because it's the base version of what Caverna built on, and
yeah,
then Feast for Odin built on that. So it's like,
yeah,
Caverna would be worth a try, but I don't know if I would go to Agricola.
yeah. I mean, I kind of just want to play Agricola just to
Yeah,
say I have,
yeah.
you know, kind of do a review over both would be
Mhm.
nice. And yeah, so I've played Hallertau and I've played Feast for Odin. Hallertau is a sleeper, I think.
I need to play
Uh,
that one still. I haven't done that one.
A friend of mine showed it to me. It's one of his favorite Uwe games. It's solid. Anyway, that's not on any of our lists, so why am I talking about it? Let's move on to number 70, which is another one that rose. Last year it was 119, and then the year before that it was 95. So I'm gonna be completely honest, I'm actually amazed it was on the list 2 years ago. We must have played it that year. And then 2022 didn't touch it at all. And then last year I did play it and I played a four-player game. And even though the ending of that game was very toxic, kind of, I mean, it was between friends, so it, went over smoother. But it was a weird situation. Replaying this game made me realize kind of how unique of a game it is in the genre, and that is Tsukiyumi Full Moon Down, second edition. This Yeah, I mean, first of all, the theme is insanely unique.
Yeah.
Where the moon crashed into the planet and it was like an egg, and there's some being. I mean, on the art, there's like some queen that's in the middle, but they released a lot of Oni or demons, and there's all these radically unique races, which is awesome. I mean, they have nomads, so they're not unique, but then you have Gundams, basically. You have the Hive or the Swarm, you have Cyber Samurai, you have boar people, you have whales, you have dragons, you have pandas. They have a ton of really, really cool um, asymmetric factions that you play. And you're basically vying for the most points at the end of the game. And I love these area control games where it's not about, you know, domination. I mean, you're going to get points for that. Uh, but it is about having the most points at the end of the game. I will say this game is kind of clunky. It's definitely not even remotely close to streamlined. I think there is actually a new version that's supposed to be coming out, and as far as I can tell, um, the second edition of this game kind of botched a lot of stuff. Yeah, it's supposed to be Sunrise Kingdom, so that's an expansion. So I don't know if that's gonna streamline it at all. But whenever you kind of get through the rules and you do start teaching it, it is very, very unique. Like all the different miniatures that your faction has, their different abilities, how you play. Like for example, the Hive has a shit ton of minis,
That's what I
and
was.
right. And they're huge on swarming the board, dropping eggs down just to hatch, to keep their people there, to just overwhelm you with forces. And the Cyber Samurai, which is who I played in the last game, um, they have their own deck of like technologies that they can do. So they can have like a orbital laser or like a cyber wall or things like that, where it's like, okay, well now I'm going to start bombarding the battlefield from a distance while also having pretty strong forces. The nomads just also kind of swarm with people, but they have guns and grenades that they have high movement to be able to um, overwhelm with forces like guerrilla tactics. And yeah, it has the same element of like you're going to get victory points for being in the middle. Um, this board is randomly laid out. So there's a lot that this game has going for it. But the really, really cool thing about it is that whenever you are choosing your actions, it's just a deck of cards, and you have basically different phases. You have uh, the white phase and blue, green, and red. And the card you choose, those are your actions that you're doing. And whether that's going to be for more reinforcements, if you want a high attack turn, then you're going to have a lot less of the other phases. And this kind of drafting system of whenever you're passing cards around is very unique. I like it a lot. The other thing that's really cool is whenever you go to attack someone, it's not like a dice fest or whatever. You have your own kind of attack card and you hand that to the person you're attacking and they choose the outcome. So it's not deterministic, but you're like, well, what are they going to choose? Like, I've put them in a situation that they're not like, none of these are really good options, but I prefer them to make this choice, but they might make this other choice. And that's also very, very cool. So, yeah, this one has kind of a lot going for it. I think it just stands out for a lot of the other types of area control games. I do wish it was a lot more streamlined. The quick story that I have for this is it was a four-player game. It was the Nomads, Cyber Samurai, the Boars, and the Hive. And the Hive couldn't win. Like there was nothing they could do to win. I was winning. Like if it was the last round of the game, if like nothing happened, I was gonna win. However, the Hive obviously was going to attack me because I'm going to win. But then if he attacked me, that means someone else was winning. And uh he was put in a situation where he almost had to king make. He had to basically decide between which three of the other players did he want to win. Because he could attack someone else and that would cause another person to win on a tiebreaker. It was just this really horrible situation that everyone would look at him and be like, okay, who do you like more? Basically tell us, who do you like out of the three of us more? And he's like, I'm not making that decision. It's like, well, someone's got to win. Ultimately, we just kind of called it. Like, we're like, that, like, who cares? Like, so we didn't actually finish the game. I won by default, but
Because it was your game.
because it's my game, yeah, and I'm the one who brought the gun. So I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, so who's winning? No, but it was very odd. I've never been in a situation where one person couldn't win, so they kind of had the opportunity to decide
Right.
who was gonna win the game. So we were just like, you know what? Never mind. Let's just wrap it up. Let's play something else. Anyway, Tsukiyumi Full Moon Down, second edition. I recommend it if you're looking for an area control game that is different from the rest.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about the battle card thing. That was
Like
probably the
like
most
having to be
unique
like,
thing
okay,
about it.
yeah, it's just so different. This game has a lot of different things going for it, which might turn some people off because it's really far from the norm. But if you trudge through the rules, and I'm sure there's like files on Board Game Geek that maybe help streamline it. Um, I think it's a really cool one to have in your collection.
Yep. Good choice. All right. My number 79 was 52 last year. So it dipped a little bit, and I'm going to attribute that fall to just not having played it this year. Um, and it is another Uwe Rosenberg game.
Hmm.
So back to back. And this one's probably yeah, it's my favorite Uwe Rosenberg game, but it's the Feast for Odin. Um,
Nice.
this one, like I said, it's been hovering in the 50s last couple of years, and I think it's just because I didn't play it this time. Plus, I don't have the Norwegian expansion, so I don't know if that adds more, you know, stuff to it or whatever.
I
But
do have that expansion. I have not touched it. It obviously adds more.
yeah,
Not that this game really needed more to be added.
no, this one's kind of his um the culmination of a lot of his those other games that we're building up, with Caverna and Agricola and all that stuff. This one is mega worker placement. I can't even remember. Let's see if it says right here. I don't remember. There's 61 different action spaces you can choose from. That sounds like a lot. And when you first sit down and you're explaining to somebody that knows a worker placement game, there's like there's 61 places. It's kind of overwhelming, but a lot of they're in those rows, so a lot of them are close to, you know, close to they're
They're
easy
just
to pick up.
leveled up versions of the same action.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you start off your board, your little place with all those negative. I think your board starts off with like a negative 80 something -1 spaces, and you're building things and buying these polyomino pieces and placing them on your place to cover up those. So you're trying to cover up all those so that you don't have to lose that many points at the end. All the while building up, managing your resources. There's a lot going on in this game, but and as daunting as it looks the first time you play it or whatever, it's like you understand how to do it, after a couple of rounds, and then it's just, and this is one of those that rewards more play. The more you play it, the more you're going to get the nuances of where to put stuff when you build.
That'd be a good top 10. Top 10 games that reward more play, and the
Oh yeah.
opposite, top 10 games that don't. Like one and done games.
Yeah. Yep. But so anyway, yeah, this one, and I don't think I'm lying when I say this is my highest, because I don't know what other Uwe Rosenberg I would have higher than this. But yeah, I mean this one is my favorite of all of them. Like I said, it takes up a lot of room. It's a bit of a teach, but once you get the playing of it down and you've played it a time or two, you really can whiz through it. And I could see this one bouncing right back up if I play it this year. I just haven't gotten around
Yeah.
to playing it this time.
Yeah, I've been eyeing it as well. Because it's like, yeah, I haven't touched it in a while, but I do remember last time I played it, it was with people that have heard of, oh God, it's the stigma of 60 different action
Right.
spaces. Um, but it's like after playing it, it's always the response is always, oh, that wasn't that bad. It's
Yeah.
like, right, because it's not 60, you know, completely different
Right.
spaces where it's like none of them have anything to do with one another. Because even I wouldn't play something like that. I'd be like, like that's stupid.
Yep.
But it's a polyomino game, so I inherently love it. Good choice. All right. My number 78 fell. We're into the falling section. This was number 68 last year, and 64 the year before. So fallen a little bit more over the past couple of years. I don't know where this one is going to stand. I don't play this a whole lot. I do have the big, big box for it where where it kind of stores everything. I don't know if they're done with this now because of the new announcement, but only time will tell. It's one of the most popular games to ever be made, and that is Wingspan. So I have the nesting box that organizes all the expansions. And that's nice because if you just have the regular box, it's basically impossible to fill all the expansions. Um, yeah, Wingspan, I mean, what's to what's to say about this game? Sold over 1 million copies, I think. Stone Meyer's most popular and successful game. Put Elizabeth Hargrave on the map, where funny enough, her last two games, I don't think Mariposa's went over well. I liked it enough, and then Fox Experiment doing a little bit better, but not even close. Like not even close to what Wingspan has done. And I've actually played Fox Experiment at this time. It was nice. Like it's like, but I'd rather play. I mean, Wingspan just has one. The art is fantastic. Love the fact that there's little blurbs on the on each card about the actual bird itself. And kind of like the programming element, the fact that how you place your birds next to each other and then you do an action, which is going to pop all those birds in that row. And they can just, I mean, I've seen some insane combos where people have stacks of like birds underneath one. And it's like, okay, well, this is, 200 points right here. The secret objectives they are trying to go for, ways to get more of them, that you're looking for certain types of birds and conditions to meet. Uh, yeah, it's insanely popular. The game days I used to go to, there was always a couple that was just always playing this game. And for good reason. Like this game is very, very good. For me, the allure obviously has worn off a little bit. Not saying that there's like a game that's like, oh, this is a wingspan killer. You know how sometimes you get that with,
Mm.
oh, this kills Seven Wonders or this kills Splendor. So far, nothing for Wingspan has come out that's like, oh, this is very much gonna just kill Wingspan. Because I just don't think there will be a game that's like that. This definitely put nature themes on the map. Since then, there's like a huge boom of nature themed games, which I'm all about. I really like a lot of them. And then if you hate birds, but you like dragons or worms or wyverns or whatever, they're coming out with Wormspan. Like I'm not gonna get it.
No.
Uh, I see no reason to. So, but if you don't own either and you're like, I don't care about birds, then go for the dragon one. I don't know. I actually used to not care about birds, and then I did kind of play this game, and I was like, they're actually kind of fascinating. Like, no, I'm not hooking up like a bird nest or a bird watching thing in my backyard, but I'm just like, huh, like that's an interesting fact about this bird. Like the one I always tell is there's apparently a bird that likes to impale other birds on barbed wire that's how they kill them and eat them. And I'm like, that's fucked up.
Yeah.
Like why does it do that? Uh so you get a lot of things like that. It's tons of ways to play. If you specifically want 2-player, they have an expansion that is just a standalone 2-player version. What continent have they not done now?
They've done Europe, they've done
Asia,
America,
they did.
Asia. They haven't done Africa.
They have not done
So
Africa.
Africa and Antarctica, but it's just gonna be a bunch of freaking penguins.
Yeah, they really, yeah, Antarctica needs to be. That's where they should throw in the Lovecraft twist because there's like a whole story and like for some dumb reason. Antarctica should be a mini pack, and Africa would be a good one. But
Yeah.
yeah, this one will always be on the list. I would be very surprised if it ever fell off. Even though I haven't played it since I got the nesting box. I don't think that's the reason. I think it's just I just haven't pulled it out to play it.
Yeah.
So that's my 78.
Yep, it's a good one. It might be talked about later. We'll see. All right. My number 78 was 64 last year, so it fell a little bit. Again, haven't played it a whole lot. It's one that I really want to get to the table. I think I might try to introduce it to Amy this Friday, tomorrow.
Cool.
And that is Maracaibo.
Nice. That's a good one.
This was one that I was a little later to the party. I mean, you had it and kept talking it up.
You're late to all of his games. I
I
feel
am.
like.
Well, I did Boone
You
Lake.
did Boone Lake before me.
Yeah, so Boone Lake I jumped on. But yeah, this was one that after I started playing a little bit of his stuff. I went on ahead and decided to jump in with this one. And this one is one of those games that when it's on the table, it's just really pretty to look at. It's really bright and vibrant. And it looks again kind of convoluted a little bit, but actually it's not. I mean, you're moving your boat around the deal. I don't think, would you call this a racing game? I mean, you're getting
as
your boats
much
around
as Great Western Trail is a
Yeah.
racing game. Like
Yeah,
I consider it more rondel
yeah,
than anything. Yeah, you are kind of well, I don't know, because in Great Western Trail, you're not always, it's figuring out that cadence of when you want to hit Kansas
Mhm.
City or when you want to hit what is it, Havana? Hit the end of this track. You don't always want to be the first one there. If it was a racing game, you'd always want to try to get there as
That's
quickly
true.
as possible.
That's true. So, but this one I have not. I own it, but I have not played the expansion.
Oh, the Uprising
The
expansion.
Uprising. I haven't messed with that to even know
Well,
what
open it because it gives you
does.
dual layered boards. So
Oh,
that's
there
just
you go.
that's a if you're
I
not going
haven't
to
even
use the
opened it.
content, at least get the dual layer boards.
Awesome. But this one is just one, and I actually have finally tried the solo mode of this one.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's actually solid. I like how the AI works with this one.
Nice.
And I think this is one that my wife will like. You know, you're moving around the board, doing different actions and stuff. And you can I think the thing that stuck with me about this and intrigued me about this was that whole quest stuff, like the quest mode stuff that you can do.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
You know, it's
Like the campaign, is that what you're talking
yeah,
about?
yeah. I think the rule book called it quest mode or something like that. I can't remember, but yeah, you're just pretty much trying to influence these three different regions. And I mean that's your deal. You're trying to be the have the most influence over the
Yeah,
three.
you're a
And
what's it called? You're not a bounty hunter. You're a sellsword kind of.
yeah. Yep. And you know, it's a 4-round game. So you do 4 rounds. And I mean that's pretty much it. I mean, there's you get a lot of points for a lot of different things. The card play is awesome. I like the card play.
Yeah, the multi-use cards for this one is, I will say the most overwhelming part is you look at the cards.
Yes,
because it's like,
there's
okay,
a
this
lot of
card
writing
this is how much it costs. It's like it's as busy almost as a terraforming Mars. card. It's like, okay, it could be used for goods. It could be used for this inherent ability. You can build this building. This is how much it costs. Um, but that like once you kind of understand the layout of the card, that's the crucial element, and then you understand the rest of the game.
Yep. So yeah, I mean, this one, I know if I was playing this one more, it's going to be higher. I mean, this
Mhm.
because I like this kind of game. Like you get when you, and that's what's weird about Great Western Trail. Like I haven't played that one enough, and I don't know if it's the theme that keeps me from that one, to really keep it up there. But like all his games just kind of hit a good niche for me.
Yeah.
My favorite probably of his, if I know I may be overlooking one, but Boone Lake is probably my favorite off the top of my head
Did you
of
not talk
his.
about Boom Lake already?
I
Maybe you
have,
haven't.
I,
No.
um,
No. No, I have not. We got 7 more lists before we get there.
but no,
Uh,
so Boone Lake is my favorite by him, but you can get that same feeling. In Boone Lake, you're moving down the river
River.
thing and all that stuff
Yeah.
too. This when you're doing that, but yeah, this is a good one.
Yep, I very much agree. His one thing after playing this and like Great Western Trail and Boone Lake, the other one that I played by him, Blackout Hong Kong, yeah, it just doesn't, it almost feels like a redheaded stepchild where it's like, oh yeah, there's also that one because it doesn't really
Right.
fit with the rest of his theme. Um, but he has some other random games that are uh just sticking around, like that you wouldn't expect to be his. Like I think Isle of Skye is,
Yes, Isle of Skye was actually the first one I ever played of his.
yes.
Yes, that's one I was
So
trying
he
to think of a
has,
second ago.
yep, he has that one. He has Port Royal, which I did not like. Maybe I was playing it wrong, but I didn't like it. Um, he has Oh My Goods. I think it's a small card game. And then the other one that no one talks about is Cloud Age, which I
That one was
have. I
kind of,
just
yeah, that was kind of like everybody was hot on it, like on its pre-order, and then it came out, and then you never
Yeah,
heard shit
no
about
one talked about it. I have it because it's Alexander Pfister, so maybe it'll be a sleeper. I don't know. But he is a designer that I'm like, oh, what's he making?
it. Yeah.
And
So anyway,
Maracaibo's expansion is awesome. And it was, I mean, one thing you didn't mention was, well, you kind of did. It's a Euro game with a campaign.
hmm
Those are few and far between. So yeah,
yeah,
good choice.
there was
Good
there's
choice.
another thing I saw. It's like another Maracaibo game. It's a standalone game called Pirates of Maracaibo that's coming out.
Oh yeah, that came out last year, right?
Yeah, 23.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, this is an awesome one. Give it a shot. It'll be worth it.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that Pirates of
I don't
Maracaibo
either.
game.
That's the first I'd seen it.
It looks like it has 2. I remember seeing it, then I just didn't think about it. It looks like it has 2 other designers, so it's not just him.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Just play Maracaibo. Just play
yeah, just
regular
play this one.
Maracaibo.
All right. My number 77 is new to the list. This is actually a party-esque game, which I don't have many of these on my list, but there was something about this one that just really surprised me. And this is kind of a group game. At least it's team versus team, which again I don't have many of. But I remember at Gen Con last year, a friend of mine was like, "Oh, sure, I'll buy it. I'll pick it up." And then we played it, and that next day we all went to go pick up a copy. Um, because we just all really, really liked it. And that is Decrypto.
Interesting.
So Decrypto, one, I really like. It's by Scorpion Mask, which does quite a few. Like they did Sky Team, which was on
Yeah,
my
that's what
list. A couple.
you're gonna say.
They did Turing Machine, and I think those are the only 3 that I've played by them. But they're a publishing company that is kind of like making some really, really fun games. And now this one isn't new by any means, but it's a word game, and I like these kind of word games. So think like I mean, well, Codenames is team based, but it 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 kind of has a similar vibe of Codenames with a little bit more complexity. This one is to um kind of hard to explain, and it looks way more convoluted until you actually play it. Once you like even reading the rules, you're like, what the fuck does any of this mean? And then you play and you're like, oh, I got it. Okay. So what it is you have another teammate and you have 4 words. You can't see it in this picture, but behind those red lenticular lens or whatever those are called, are 4 words. And you draw a card that will give you a random 3-digit sequence of 1, 2, 3, 4. So it could be 3, 2, 4, or whatever it might be. And you, as the clue giver, have to give clues that match that will lead your teammate to guess that sequence. So if your thing was water, phone, and bread, you could do ocean, cell, and rye. And you give those to your teammate, and then he has to look at the clues and be like, what the fuck does that mean? Okay, ocean, that could be water. So he has to get the right sequence. He has to say it's 2, 4, 3, if that's what you're trying to give him. But that's not it. Because one, if your teammate doesn't get it, you get like docked. You get like a black token, and you if I think if you get 2 of those, you lose. But what you're also doing is after that your teammate has guessed it, you have to give the clues to your other, like your opponents, because they're also trying to get the sequence. They're trying to crack your code. And if they get your sequence correct, if they say 2, 4, 3, then they will get like a white token, which is good for them. So what's fascinating about this game and why I really like it and why it's up at 77 is the amount of creativity that you have to come up with, because you can't be so vague that your teammate doesn't get it, but you have to be just vague enough that your opponents aren't going to get it. It's a very, very fine line, because they also will be keeping notes of what the words are. So eventually, just inherently, unless you can be really creative, which I'm not, there's going to be a pattern. If your clues for water is always ocean, lake, river, like they're always going to know that that's pertaining to that number. So it's a really, really neat kind of system, and both teams are doing that. And it's really first one to either, I think, get 2 white cubes or 2 white discs, or if you get 2 black discs, then you lose. The tiebreaker for the game, which I almost would want to put into every game anyway, is, let's say, because you can both potentially lose or win at the same time. The tiebreaker is you try and guess what the words actually are. And whoever gets the most wins. That's not an actual rule. That's not how you actually win. But I really like that tiebreaker because the words are not something that would be so obvious. But yeah, it's a really nifty one. Like I said, if you're familiar with code names, it's not that same system by any means, but it's that same level of thinking. Like, how am I going to mix these words together to be able to go, satellite 7, and it's like, what the fuck? Like, where do you even get 7? This is kind of a different level of thinking, but the same type of how am I going to combine these without being so obvious. It's really neat. It's a really cool one. Shot up to the top and or not to the top, but shot into the top 100. So, and I don't have many party games, if any, else on my list, because I wouldn't bring this to a party.
Right.
Hey guys, let's fucking drink and play this kind of complex word game. But yeah, that's my number 77, Decrypto.
All right. So my number 77 was, I think you talked about on your list last video. And it's an ironic placement because number 77 is Seven Wonders.
Wow, you really slotted that game.
It just popped. Yeah, that incidental.
And it plays up to 7 players.
Yeah, it does.
And it came out in 2007. That's not true.
But anyway, this is the first edition box. This is the stuff I have is the first edition. I mean, the second edition just has card layout and a little bit of balance changes and stuff. But anyway, this game was 37 last year.
Oh,
So it
second
fell
edition
off.
also can't be played at 2.
It can.
It can't.
Well, this one can't either. If I mean,
I mean, technically
that's
it can. It's just
yeah, I
not
know, but
great.
so that's why I have Duel, because whenever it's just me and Amy, we play Duel. If I have more people, I play this. But anyway, Duel was actually my um 81. So I mean, this one just beats it out by a little bit. Um, but yeah, this one, like what you had said in that video, this is in my mind this was the first game that really got me into card drafting.
Hmm.
Um, and it kind of spawned a lot of other drafting games because of the popularity of this game. Every this was so many people's favorite games for so long, until things started catching up a little bit. But you're pretty much just building a civilization or a wonder, and you're just drafting cards, playing them down. The awesome part about this game is that you draft the card, you put it face down, pass what's left, and then everybody flips the card over and puts it into their civilization. Whether it gives them constant resources, or if it gives them victory points at the end of the game, it gives them military strength, science. You can use a card. You can just discard a card to get money if you're running low on money. You can put a card face down to build part of your wonder if you have the right resources to do it. You can buy resources from your neighbors to your left or right if you're short resources. But I think, and you brought this up when we were talking about last video, was that there is few games that I don't know if I can think of any that can go from 3 players to 7 players. The game's no longer. Everybody's you just play a card, play a card, and you're done.
Yeah,
It takes longer to score your in-game scoring than it does to play a game if everybody knows what they're
that's
playing.
true.
Everybody
Yeah.
knows you're just whipping through it, and then doing the score at the end is what takes the longest. If you haven't played Seven Wonders by now, then you're way behind the curve.
That's true.
I would say there's a really, really nice app that you can download for it. I play tested the app,
Okay.
and have all the stuff for the app, and you can play an entire game of Seven Wonders in 5 minutes
Yeah.
using the app, because it automatically does the scoring and all that. So yeah, this one will always be in my top. It fell
Hmm.
mainly because I haven't played this version. Like
Yeah.
Duel has been the one that has been played more, even though it dropped as well.
Yeah, it's nice that this is still ahead of Duel.
Yeah,
Makes me
and it
happy.
always will be. That this is the first one. I mean, Duel fits its purpose for just a 2-person deal. But if I had the choice, I would always pick this one over Duel, just because
Yeah.
I like this system a lot better.
Yep.
But
I agree.
yeah,
It's really good. I was gonna say something, but I forgot. Oh, I don't know if it's gonna be on your list. Did you consider Hadara?
it's not on my top 100.
Okay,
I
same.
don't
Yeah.
believe. I guess I better look. I don't think it made it that high. No, it didn't make it that high.
Yeah.
It's
Hadara is
down
sitting
there
at
always.
Yeah, Hadara is sitting at 138 for me. I remember when Hadar came out, it's like, oh, this is a Seven Wonders killer, and then it's like, nah, nah.
Well, it's because
I,
they didn't support it
yeah, they didn't do
either.
anything. I think there's an expansion somewhere, that's like super hard to get a hold of, or promos. I don't know. Hadara is great, like it's really
It
good, but
is.
Seven Wonders just is superior, especially with second edition coming out to kind of streamline it a little bit, balance it, and they updated all the expansions and made one more. I think actually the only expansion they haven't have they done um have they done the C one, the
Armada.
C expansion? What was that called? It
Armada.
was
It was Armada.
Armada. They did, yeah. Okay. So every expansion for Seven Wonders second edition, or for Seven Wonders, has been remade in the second edition, which is great. Sometimes they don't do that.
My Hadara was 172.
Okay. Okay. I mean, still, out of the plethora of games that we rank,
Oh yeah.
that's still pretty good.
Yep.
So good pick. Good pick. My number 76 is the second new game on this list, so they ended up being back to back. This one is a theme that I usually don't gravitate towards, but I kind of picked up because it was different. I love the publishing company for this. They so far have not made a game that I'm like that I've missed on, and this one has a lot of really cool elements to it. So that is Septima, made by, well, I don't know who the designer is, but the publishing company is Mind Clash Games, which is Anachrony and Tricarion. Septima is a game about like a witch coven, and you're trying to kind of take over the role of, I think the title is the Septima, which is like the head of the covens.
Right.
And set in a relative setting to the Salem witch trials, like you have witch hunters that are chasing after you as you're going around and just being a normal person. Because you have potions that you can create, and then you can go and heal the sick or broken limbs. And by doing that kind of stuff, showing witchy acts, you are being hunted. And if you get caught, then that puts your witches in a trial that you have to try and send workers or convince the townsfolk to actually, go in your favor. And if you're the one who, if the angry townsfolk don't overrule like the witches that are like trying to come to the aid of the person on trial, whoever has the most workers in that section will actually get that person added to their coven. And each witch has a unique ability, like a special broken power that, oh, I can do this, and I have this witch in here as well, which allows me to do this. That's really cool. What's neat about this game is, one, it's actually probably the most streamlined or easier game, or I guess lighter game would be the better word, for out of all of them. Like base to base game, Tricarion and Anachrony are way more complex than I was gonna say than Witchcraft, than Septima. Funny enough, two Witch games came out in 2023. But what's also really neat about this game is you have your hand of cards. It's that kind of system where everyone has the same cards in their hand, and the order of cards that you're playing is going to be different. But each card has its main ability, but it has like a shared ability. And this kind of has a little bit of cooperation in the game where it's like, oh, does anyone want to move this turn? And it's like, yeah, okay, I kind of want to move. So whenever multiple people play the same card, instead of doing the main ability, you get the shared ability, which is just going to be an enhanced effect. So the move one, for example, is you can move 2 spaces or 3 or whatever it is. But the shared ability is you can move to any spot on the board. So it has better versions of that if people want to cooperate and play the same action card. But that raises your suspicion, and the suspicion means that if your suspicion rose, you're going to have these witch hunters, which are the black meeples, moving after you if you're in their section. You have spell cards and potions and stuff that you can spend to be able to like mitigate certain things. You can mitigate their rolls. You can mitigate like, oh, actually, you know what? I'm gonna give that person a sleeping potion, so the witch hunter's gonna go to sleep and not actually activate. Yeah, you have your own type of personal objective, multiple tiers of, if you get the hardest one, you'll get the most points. Tracks that you're going up. The mini expansion has this overall track, like this really long track that you're trying to move up by playing certain actions. Even though it's their lighter game, it's like it's not without its you know, complexities or variety of way to play the game. It's not like one of the one and done games where you're like, okay, I've seen everything. It is extremely thematic, like all their other games are. Even though this isn't a theme that I'm always running to jump into, having a few of it is still pretty fascinating. So I think with Septima and Witchcraft, I'm kind of good on the witchy theme, but they both play completely different. One, Witchcraft is solo only, and this isn't. But yeah, if you're into Mind Clash and you like that theme a lot, then this will be a really good one to hop into. The deluxe edition is very organized. This one is just a very clean game. And yeah, that's sitting at my number 76.
All right, choice, I guess. I haven't played any Mind Clash games, so
I know. Just go
I'll
buy
try
them.
one at some
You'll
point.
like them. Anachrony solo mode is one of the best.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
By
All
me. It's always by me.
right. So my number 76 is my other new one on this list, and it kind of surprised me that it made the list. I enjoyed the hell out of it. But I was just surprised it went up into this high. I figured it was going to be like in the low hundreds and stuff. But I
Okay.
did play it a lot this time, and it's an easy teach. It's easy to get to the table with, like my wife or anybody else. And it's just a fun, charming game. And that is Flamecraft.
I'm actually not surprised this is up on your list.
Yeah.
Like, because it's great. Flamecraft is great.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's the thing. It's like, because I passed up on the Kickstarter for this because I just didn't care for the art necessarily when I first saw it, but then it kind of grew on me as I was playing it once you could dig into the box.
Mm-hmm.
But super simple gameplay. I mean,
Yeah.
you're going to the shops that are named neat stuff and
Yeah.
getting the
Very
resources and
plenty.
and getting getting enchantments and all that jazz. And it's not a long game either, so you're just constantly gathering resources and using resources. You're trying to get those the fancy dragons and stuff like that. It's a very kind of just chill game, I mean, considering a lot of the other things that are out there. But it gets kind of weird when you start flipping, because there's that one dragon power, I can't remember which color it is, that lets you like swap all these different things, like swap the
Oh
dragons
yeah,
and you
swap like
fire them off.
the dragons to activate like the
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah, so there's a lot of movement, especially late game. You get all the locations filled and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. But yeah, I mean, this one, it's a very light game,
Mm-hmm.
but it makes up for that lightness, and just it's still gamery. I mean, you
Yeah.
can still do your decisions, but it's just super fast, neat to look at, and everybody I've played it with has had a good time with this one. And I
Yeah,
love
there's something about these types of games like that have a cute artwork that for some reason causes the community to inherently just hate it. Oh, you just like it because it's pretty. Okay.
right.
Like, I'm sorry, is your favorite game Food Chain Magnate? Get some fucking friends, you loser. Like, I'm sorry your job is looking at Excel spreadsheets, so that's what you get a hard on for. Um, but yeah, this game has beautiful artwork and just a pleasant charm. But it does have like, because it's so simple, because one of the things that a lot of people would probably you'd think would prefer, and I'm talking about this more because it's actually not in my top 100 because I suck. Um, is you would think that everyone would want all the dragons to do something different.
Right.
But the fact that they don't, the fact that the red one does the exact same thing, I think it lends itself to a little bit higher level of strategy, you know?
Agree.
Because what is different are the moon and sun dragons that have instant abilities or in-game scoring conditions. So you kind of get a slightly deeper game than you would think. And I say slightly because it's not like, oh man, you're really brain burny.
Right.
But this isn't a go with the flow or, going with like what's the um yeah, you're not just kind of sitting there going through the motions or you're just
Right.
I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna get my money, spend my money. It's not Splendor level of
Oh yeah. Yeah,
shit
that's
gameplay.
for sure. Well, and then they have is it Creature Kitchen? That was this
Critter Kitchen.
Critter Kitchen. That's right. But it made by the same people and the same artists and all that stuff. I didn't back that one either, but it looks
Think
like
I
it's gonna have
did.
it looks like it's gonna kind of have the same vibe. Like they had different I like different famous um, cooks and chefs and stuff, like kind of punned in on it and stuff as well.
Hmm.
So that may be another one that I regret not backing too, but we'll see.
Yeah. All right. Well, good choice. Going into the complete opposite direction, because this is not cute artwork. It's actually horrifying. My number 75 was 29 last year, so it dropped a bunch and was 33 the year before. And the reason for that is because I haven't played it. This requires uh a higher number count of groups, and my player count is at max 4, which this game actually works pretty good at 4, but you kind of want 4 up to 6. 5 or 6 is almost preferred. But when this game is played, it is amazing. So it's like this is one of the games that I will never be able to judge where it's going to be, because if I play it, it's going to be high. If I don't play it, it's going to be low, and that is unfathomable. Um, so yeah, like 2 years ago or the year before, I had played it. This is a trader game, like a hidden role game, that replaced Battlestar Galactica. At least in theme, it's Fantasy Flight's new Battlestar Galactica. If you already have Battlestar, I wouldn't bother getting this. If you don't, get this one. Um, or if you have Battlestar and you realize that theme probably sucks. I don't know. Actually, I remember watching some of the show, like the revamp, which came out in the early 2010s, I think.
Yeah.
I actually remember liking it from what I watched. But I love Lovecraft. I love the theme. It's easily my favorite theme. So this was ripe for me, and it hits the exact same beats as the original. I will say there is something about Battlestar where it's like, oh, who's a Cylon? That, hits like that digs deeper, I think, as a theme than who's a cultist, because that's just so generic. Oh, who's a cultist among these people? Like, but the overall vibe and the feeling you get from Unfathomable is really good. Every action you take, you're wondering why people are doing what they're doing. Even if it's like something really good, you always will side eye them and be like, okay, that was too helpful. Um, and I mean, because I remember last time I played this game, just one guy, because people are assigned roles that puts them in situations like the captain. It's like, hey, I have to chart our course. So whenever we actually, are sailing, I am the one that's picking the location. And and you just draw a certain number of cards. It's not like you dig through it. So if you draw like 3 cards and they're all horrible, you're gonna look suspicious. It's like, this is the one I'm doing, and it's like, oh really? Oh, okay. Well, so you're trying to get us killed. Anyway, who wants to throw him in the brig? Like, if we just do a mutiny, and you could be like, if I'm the one suggesting that, I'd be like, well, why the fuck would he make us drive into these razor sharp, shoals? I think they're what they're called. Uh, and I could be a cultist the whole time and be like, hey, let's get him out of here. So what the other really, really neat thing about Unfathomable slash Battlestar is every check you make, everyone has a hand of cards of certain color cards that have a number on them, and every skill check requires a certain color card and a number threshold. So everyone puts in cards, and then there's a randomized deck that gets thrown in as well. So it masks if people are trying to hide, or if everyone is trying to succeed, it might still cause it to fail if the colors of the cards aren't what the skill is asking for. It subtracts from your overall number.
Yep.
That's such a brilliant system. Because unlike Shadows over Camelot, where at the beginning of every turn everyone has to do something bad, I find that just a very lazy way to hide the traitor. This one is, you have to be very slick, and you can reveal yourself, and that gives you an ability that could be huge in the right moment. So yeah, I really, like I said, it was 29 last year. If I play this like in 2024, I could easily be like, oh, right up there. Again, I'm amazed at Fantasy Flight because they don't really make games anymore. They make the
Yeah.
same 3 games. I'm amazed that they made this and it wasn't like a cheap, lighter cash grab. Like it seemed like they actually wanted to bring Battlestar Galactica back, but they don't have the rights anymore. Um, no expansion, no support for this, unfortunately. I'm hoping, like, I know they don't do expansions. I know Outer Rim, like, they had to basically get death threats sent to them where it's like, we will blow up your building if you don't give us an expansion. I'd be happy with one because I think the Battlestar Galactica expansions, there was really one that everyone was like, get this one.
Yeah.
So maybe just one for Unfathomable would be nice, but we shall see. That's my number 75.
Yeah, I haven't played this one, but I am a really, really big fan of Battlestar. I played it a lot several
Yeah,
years ago. I don't have it, and it's too expensive to buy, but
yeah.
I I prefer the Battlestar theme because I love the TV show, love
hmm
everything about it. So that was always an awesome.
Did the
Actually,
TV show, it went on for quite some time, didn't it?
oh yeah, there was 6 seasons, I want to
Six
say.
seasons.
5 or 6,
Um,
can't remember exactly, but yeah,
did
it
it
was.
ever get to a point where it was like, this needs to end? I feel like you can only
Um,
do so much with that Cylon theme before it's like, all right, come on. Like,
they
what was
did
it,
some
New
interesting.
Caprica? When they went to New Caprica or something, wasn't it
Yeah,
kind of like, this needs
I
to
well, it was getting that way, but then the way that they steered it back to the end game was
Okay.
was cool. A lot of people don't like how the TV show ended. I like how it ended, but
Okay.
anyway, yeah. So one of these days, if I never can find Battlestar, I'll try this again or try this at some point.
I mean, I think if we played it, like if I came to like if you came up to a game day or I came down to a game day and it was like you and your group and we played it, I bet you would go out and get it.
Probably. I just don't have
Um,
like a group to play these kind of games either.
I know.
So that's why I probably have never bought it.
Yeah, no, I understand. I was gonna say something, but I forgot. So your turn.
All right. My number 75 was 49 last year. And it dropped off again because it hasn't been played a whole lot. Plus, I've been playing the other iteration of this game more this year. This one I've actually been getting to the table this year. And this game's been on my list, gosh, for years since you showed it to me, what, 7 years ago or something
I
like
need to
that.
start keeping a
But
tally of
yeah, I
how many
know.
games I show you.
And that's Imperial Settlers.
There's no
Um,
way I showed this game to you.
you did.
Did I?
Yep, you did.
Wow.
It was one of the first games we played when I first went over to your place at Clinton.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Okay.
But because you, me, and Kat played it. Uh, so yeah, this was
Huh.
one that
Okay.
I played there with you guys, and it just fit nicely. With I like the theme of it. I like the multiple use card deal, being able to, and having the decks. You have your own personal deck. You have the generic deck out in there that you're drawing from and stuff. Um, I the game that, like I was saying, that's kind of like this is 51st State, and that's the one I've been playing more this year because I got the new version of it. So that's the one I've been playing more. But this one had several different civilizations come out for it over the years. Um, and then it was one of those that was really really unique at the time, and it was really a really nice one, but then it started showing its age a little bit more, and I think that's another reason why this one doesn't get as much. um,
Mm-hmm.
that's why, like, the Empires of the North, one of the benefits that one has is because you can hoard resources on that one. This one, what you don't spend goes away, and you're constantly refreshing your stuff at the end of beginning before the next round starts.
Right.
In Empires, you can kind of hoard it up and do big turns.
Mm-hmm.
Um, But yeah, this one is a solid one. I don't know if it's going to keep slipping, or what. 51st State is kind of the one that's caught my attention now. So I may be flip-flopping with this. We were talking about Empires at one point back in the day, and Empires isn't on my top 100. It just missed it barely.
Got it.
So this one is my highest of all of them still, and this one is of all those games. This is my wife's favorite of all of them. So that's why it'll probably get played more than the others when we get down to it. But
Have you shown her Empires of the North?
yeah, she didn't care for it as much.
Interesting.
We played it, and I mean, she didn't hate it. She liked it, but she said that she preferred this one
Got it.
over that. So anyway, this one will probably get played more often down the road. But yeah, I mean, this is a very light civilization building game, and there's, like I said, a lot of civilization expansions. There's card expansions if you want to build a specific deck to play with. And this theme and this world had spawned off and caught, did with they did the Empires of the North. They did other branch offs,
Like Imperial Miners or something
yeah,
like
Imperial
that.
Miners, that, yeah, different stuff, and yeah. So I mean, this was one that should still be in the top 100 next year if it gets played. If not, it could see itself falling off. It's kind of been free falling the last couple of years a little bit, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's Imperial Settlers.
Cool. Yeah, I had the big box and everything for this, but as I kept looking at that and I kept looking at Empires of the North, I was like, yeah, I'd rather just play Empires.
Yeah.
So, funny enough, so the next two games, so we just had Unfathomable, and the next two games are all kind of games that were super high up, but have fallen quite a bit just because they require a pretty decent sized group to play with. And my number 74 is no different. Last year it was 30. 2021 it was 77. So it just
Correct.
depends on, again, that's how all of these I think are going to go. At least these three it'll be super high if I play it that year, or it'll be super low if I don't play it. And I think last year it had a really big expansion that kind of was like a um yeah, 2022. Yeah, so well, yeah, in 2022. And yeah, it was like a mishmash of basically every other expansion that this game has, and that is Cosmic Encounter. So, like I said, this is at 73 because I just didn't play it last year, but the year before I obviously played through a kind of a campaign is what it added, which was really play multiple games of Cosmic Encounter with a different,
Right.
combination of expansions. But I know that there are some people who don't really like pure negotiation games, and Cosmic Encounter is that. There was another game that came out last year that was also pure negotiation, and it was, I think, Zoo Vadis is what it was called. And what both these games do, yes, yeah, Zoo Vadis. What both of those games do is allow your special ability to be used as a negotiating tool. Cosmic Encounter has over 200 different alien races. It's insane at this point. The Cosmic Odyssey expansion added like a whole bunch more, as well as rebalances for previous factions. And yeah, really all you're doing in this game is you draw a card from a Destiny deck, which tells you what color you're attacking. You're trying to put your ships on other players' planets. First one to 5 wins. And that's really it. Like, you have a hand of cards that have attack values and reinforcements and special abilities and things like that. But the crux of this game is your unique alien power. And I mean, every game of this is going to be different. The abilities of these aliens are insane. Obviously, some better than others. Um, but it could just be depending on how you're going to use it. A lot of them give really big negotiating power. A lot of them give really big attack power or defense power. But it's all about how you end up utilizing that to try and get people to team up with you, ally with you for benefits. Um, Sometimes forcing them to ally with you. But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's been on my list since the very beginning. Yeah, it was number 9 in 2017. So, and I think it was in my top 10 whenever I used to just do my top 10, but it will always be here. I absolutely love this game every time I play it. But kind of like Unfathomable is you need at least 4, but it can go up to 8, and the more the merrier for this kind of game. That's just how crazy it can get with certain people's special abilities. The amount of expansions they have and different modules you can throw in is insane. You can have technologies, you can have unique events that pop out. It's it's impressive. So I like I said, with Unfathomable, this one is kind of going to be all over the place, just depending on if I play it or not. But I'd be very, very surprised if this one ever fell out of my top 100, just because if I ever do go to a game day, I'm always looking at Cosmic Encounter to bring because it's like, oh, hey, finally, we'll have a lot of people. So, yeah, that's my number 74, Cosmic Encounter.
All right. Well, my number 74, and I'm not going to take the time to go and look right now, but I'm going to take a guess that this was my biggest fall of the list. This was 16
Ooh.
last year. And
Ooh.
well, and there's a good reason why it fell this far. It's because I have not played this game for a couple of years now because I've been waiting on Kickstarter content to show up. That is
Shadows of Brimstone. Oh
No,
my
no,
God,
no.
it's 74.
That is finally in their latest update. We are actually going to finally be getting this content the end of March.
I got it. I know what it is now.
So, and that will most definitely bounce it back up because I really enjoy this game when I'm playing it. And when the Kickstarter stuff comes in where it brings in the solo co-op version, then we can play Sorcerer again.
Funny enough, this was my number 103.
Yeah.
So it's actually not in my top 100 anymore, but it was right up there. I'm surprised.
Yeah, this one it's just taken so damn long for this Kickstarter for just a bunch of cards.
Well, they've had to make a shit ton of Star Realms and Hero Realms that people are clamoring for.
It's just, this was one that I just kind of expected the Kickstarter not to take super long. And this was the Kickstarter that caused them to change their format, they say. And I'm still waiting on all the Hero Realms Dungeons crap that's coming. But anyway, I mean, box cover speaks for itself. I mean, this is awesome art for this stuff. When we did our box cover top 10s, this was one of mine that was on there.
Yeah.
But this one is an interesting combination of different game mechanics. It has 3 different decks to form your sorcerer, and then you shuffle those 3 decks together, and that kind of creates your deal. And then you have bad guys, that you'll be battling against, minions from the other person that you're playing against. This game is 1v1 is the most. Like, you can play it with 4 people, but I would not recommend that. A 1v1 game can take long enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the art in this game is just crazy. I mean, it doesn't really show, can't really get a good glimpse on that picture, but the art is just that realistic horror type stuff. A lot of those, especially like the mental ward or whatever, that is craziness, the art and stuff. But This game, though, it's not a perfect game. It has its faults. The battle resolution can take
Mm-hmm.
a long time because you're rolling dice, you're spending those omen tokens to force rerolls. There's just a lot of stuff. It takes a long time. The card play version of it, though, is its strength.
Yeah.
I love your little board, your little player board there has all your information on it you need. It tells you your round, your phases, your battle stuff. It keeps track of your turns, how much energy you have.
Mm-hmm.
You can do a lot of cool stuff though too. There's the freedom to on your turn you can just draw cards or gain
Yeah.
energy or stuff like that. You don't get hindered by the um not being able to get card draw like some of these games happen and
Yeah,
stuff
you
like
can't get
that.
like mana screwed. It's just
Right.
like, oh, okay, this card costs 10 energy. I
Hmm.
have 4. Okay, 3 of my actions is gaining 2.
Yep. So it's like you have all that stuff, and all the while you're battling for these 3 locations. You're trying to destroy those locations. So if you destroy 2 of those 3 locations, you win. You're moving around your sorcerer standee onto different places, and those special abilities that your sorcerer has when you drafted those decks can only be done at those locations that they're at. So you have to kind of take a guess on where they may be going if you're wanting to do something specific. Um, and I mean that's the gist of the game. I mean, like this game at Origins 2019, which seems like not that long ago, but it has been. I was on I was on the demo team for Wise Wizard Games for this and played it more times than I really want to admit.
Yeah.
but they come out with there's so many combinations, so many domains and lineages and sorcerers that you combine, and it's just nuts all the combinations you can do. This Kickstarter, the Endbringer, is going to add more sorcerers, more domains, more lineages. It's going to turn it into a cooperative
Yeah.
aspect also, so that there's going to be a huge thing in the middle going from place to place, and you as a team or solo can go in and try beating it up. Um, so I'm excited to see how that plays. But yeah, this one will definitely go back up because here in what a month, then or 2 months, we should be getting our stuff and and yeah, just
Yeah.
see where it goes from there. But
Finally. End
yeah,
of March.
so anyway, mine is number 74 is Sorcerer.
Cool. Cool. Yeah. I also enjoy this game, but I was frustrated with how long it was taken and didn't want to give them the time of day. And
Yeah.
I also really, really hate its battle resolution with it just being dice. And that's it. There's like nothing about that except roll dice. Um, but other than that, yeah, everything else is great. So still up there, and I could see this hopping back into the top 100 with the Endbringer stuff.
Yeah.
All right. So my number 73, like the last two, Cosmic Encounter and Unfathomable, will rise or fall depending on if I get it played. And in 2022, it was number 49, and in 2021, it was number 28. And I think it was at 28 because I happened to play it that year. So again, like just a difference of almost 50 because I didn't play it last year, even though I had like a lot of opportunities to play it, and I just didn't for some reason. Was just like, nah, I don't really want to play with a bunch of people I don't know. But this game is fantastic. I think has always been in my top 100, and that is Twilight Imperium, 4th edition. But I'm pretty sure no one talks about the other editions anymore. This one, I mean, is the like the cream of the crop when it comes to 4X games. Like a friend of mine that's on the channel, Zach, this is his favorite game. He's really big into the TI community when it comes to like just understanding strategies. He plays online. He actively looks for games to play. He's the one who keeps inviting me to play, but it's like, I don't want to kind of deal with a bunch of people I don't know
Yeah.
for a game like this.
Mm-hmm.
but it's brilliant in everything. Like it's so good. The fascinating thing about this game is one, yeah, that's an insane table presence. But I've played more complex games. That's the thing, is like you have 8 options for an action, and in turn order you draft these action tablets, whether or not you want to move, or you want to get technology, or you want to have a politics phase, or you want to trade. If it's there, you just grab that. When it comes to your turn, you can either move around the board, or you can do like the primary ability of the tablet that you took. But the actual nuances of this game is, of course, understanding your faction, what its strengths and weaknesses are, how you're gonna use the tech tree because it has a tech tree, how you're gonna, because it has some negotiation in this game as well. Um, what routes you're gonna go to score victory points, because this is another one where there's public objectives that are being revealed as the game goes on, and you're trying to meet those, and it's first 1 to 10 points wins. But this game has politics, it has laws, it has negotiation, it has combat, it has area control. It is the epitome of like a 4X game. In the expansion, the only one that they've made for fourth edition, is almost a must because it expands the factions even more, as well as just providing more modules, like more senses of exploration, more tiles, things like that. It, God, I mean, yeah, it's a grandiose game. It's a big, big game. I think 6 is the best to play this game as, or at, kind of like Unfathomable and Cosmic Encounter. It requires a large group, but it also requires some dedication to sit around and play, because it's not a short game by any means. The stigma is a lot of people are like, oh, this game takes 10 hours. If everyone is slow, not paying attention, and has no idea what's happening, yeah, it's going to take a long time. But, and I'm not saying this is going to be like, oh, if you everyone knows what they're doing, it's an hour and a half. But it's it's still like a day. You make an event out of it, and by the end of the game, whether you won or lost, it's like, God, as long as you were involved the whole time, you're not gonna. I mean, it's hard to find a better experience than TI can bring if you like this kind of game. If you're not into this style at all, then don't force it. But yeah, I absolutely do love this game. I really should just go and get it played. Because that's the only time I'm doing it, because I have the game, but I'm never organizing it to get it played.
Yeah.
But yeah, it has everything that you would want in this kind of epic event. And yeah, there's very few games that kind of beat that feeling. So that is my number 23, Twilight Imperium.
All right. Good choice. My number 23 was 66 last year.
Did I say 23? 73.
Yeah. my 73 was 66 last year, so I fell just a little bit. And it's not because I haven't played it. This is one of those games that my wife loves solving mysteries, right? But she also hates cooperative games. So I figured, well, maybe this will be a cooperative game that she will like. And she didn't really care for it. So I'm going to end up playing this solo all the way,
Oh,
you know? And that is Chronicles of Crime. She still wants to try detective.
I was gonna say, like, if she wants to solve mysteries and be competitive, then play Detective City of Angels, because it's exactly that.
Well, I don't have that, but I have the other detective game, the one from
Oh, I see.
but
Yeah.
she wants to try that. But I mean, I don't know. She didn't this one didn't really jive with her a whole lot, so I'll end up going through solo. But anyway, this was the first, to my knowledge, game that really did the whole VR stuff and the card scanning technology. This was the one that Lucky Duck, this started the whole Lucky Duck thing with having their cards with QR codes, you're scanning, doing stuff. It led to Destinies and oh, that other one, the Louisiana one that's going to be coming out before long, and
Oh yeah, Dark Corridor.
yeah, Dark Quarter, stuff like that. But and Godspell or God's Grave, God into the God's Grave. But
Yep.
anyway, so this one you're just solving a crime. You have a layout board, and every card is going to have QR codes on it, whether it's characters, whether it's locations, whether it's items, and everything. And what happens is when you follow these certain things, you'll get to certain locations, and it'll pop up and say that you can investigate this spot, and then you can use your phone or tablet or whatever, and one person's going to sit there and look at it, and they can look around and stuff, and they're just shouting out things they're seeing, while somebody else is just rifling through this deck, like pulling out any card that has resemblance to stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then you scan those cards. That'll tell you if it's a clue, or if it's has nothing to do with it or whatever. I have done about 4 of the base game ones, and then I'd started 1400. I haven't gotten into a lot of the stuff yet. It's a little bit challenging to do solo in that time span, because you have to do more memory, because you have to look at the crime scene and then get the cards yourself. So I mean, it's doable.
That's true. Yeah.
But you're not as efficient. So, and all the while, whenever you're going to location or talking to different people or doing whatever, time is passing, and you're trying to get it solved and before time's up, because people keep dying or things keep happening if you're too slow. And it's really well done, and I like what they did. I don't think they're doing anything else with this game now. I think the Millennium series was kind of their finale.
Yeah.
But they have done over the years, added just content to their app, that uses the content they already have, and it just adds more cases that you can buy and stuff, which I could see that would be a way to just continue doing now. Just keep putting out stuff with the components you already have, and just put out little deals and charge $3 or $4, whatever it is, and stuff. But this was kind of a groundbreaking game. So, it's neat, and the art's really cool. I like the art is kind of weird. Like some of the character people are they make them all look guilty. A lot of them, even though
They do.
they may not be.
There's a guy that's 100% just a meth addict, and you're like, okay, like this guy is immediately a suspect.
Well, and it's like, but then you use that card, and it's like, oh, this is Tom Jones. He's a kindergarten teacher at our local elementary school. It's like,
right?
So
I'm gonna pull my kid out, like.
But no, this one's really neat. I mean, if you like these mystery solving kind of games, this one is more interactive. It does suffer, like playing this with like 2 people, I think is about the best.
Yeah, that's how
Because if you
I
play
usually play it.
Yeah, because if you play with more than that, you have one person that's shouting, examining the crime scene, and one person going through the cards, and there's always one person that's kind of just awkward. Right. So yeah, this one will probably be one that'll always be around in my top 100 just until it gets played out. But it's a good one, good crime solving game.
Yep, I very much agree. We might talk about it later. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Detective, I will say, did fall off my top 100. Back when they both were coming out at the same time. I think they came out the same year.
Right.
I couldn't decide which one I liked more, but as time went on, Chronicles of Crime got support way better than Detective did.
Right.
So you support your game, then I like your game a lot more.
Yep.
All right, my number 72 rose from the past couple years. Last year was 128, and the year before that was 134. And I don't really know why. I think this could also be just a fundamental flaw of Pub Meeple. I don't know. Well, this game is fantastic, and I'm not saying it shouldn't be here, because I do really like this game. This was a game you showed me But I will say, I would love to know how their algorithm works. If it just so happened that this game matched up, like went up against a specific group of games, you know, like that caused it to jump as much. I don't know. I don't know how it works because every now and then you have these outliers that kind of like, for no rhyme or reason, it's just like, boom, here it is. Anyway, my number 72 is
Yes.
Alhambra. The Mega Box specifically. So I'm better than you. You showed me the peasant version. Um, but no, I mean this game is. I mean, when did it come out? 15 to 20 years ago. 21 years ago. God, that's crazy. However, even then, being showed this, ancient dinosaur of a game, it is just such a brilliant design. Like I love how this game actually works. I don't even know if we played it with any of the expansions or any of the modules. We
It
just
was just the
played.
base game. All I have is the base game.
Okay. So just the base game where it's a tile laying game that you are wanting specific tiles of specific colors, building them within your wall to try and get better buildings that everyone is kind of vying for, um, to have the most victory points at the end. You are uh, not drafting. You are trying to vie for different combinations, or not combinations, different hands of coin cards to be able to purchase buildings. So it's kind of like a turn order thing of like, okay, that one is really good for my Alhambra right now. But shit, do I want to overpay because you don't get change? Even though I think there is actually a mini expansion that does give you change.
Well, and the paying exact money is the cool thing because then you get to buy
Yeah.
a second one. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so whenever you're wanting certain money cards that I just remember playing this and being like just kind of surprised by the simplicity, by how angsty you can get because you want a certain money card and you want a certain building and you have that basically the entire game. So whenever I'm playing a game and I'm like getting like fidgety because I want it to be my turn already because it's like
Mhm.
I'm eyeing that building. I'm like, okay, that'd be really cool. I really want that for my, I really want that. Don't take it. Don't take it. Oh, I see you're moving your hand towards it. I will cut your hand off. Um, it it just shows uh brilliant design, 20 years later, because I think we played it in 23 or maybe 22. Uh, so it's no surprise that it rose this high. And I think it was not the last year, but in 2022 is whenever I picked up the mega box with the millions of expansions,
And so
which
that
are
has
all,
43 expansion modules.
yeah. Now it's insane, but they're all mini expansions. It's like add a tile here, add a tile there, add this card, give this to a player. Just very, not all of them are like that. Some of them are bigger expansions, but to have 43, probably like 30 of them are very, very minor.
Yeah.
But I think that's the way you go about it. You don't have 43 big things, so you're never going to play with them. You could take five of the expansions because it's like, okay, well, now we all know how to play Alhambra. So now we have this worker and now we have this. And it just kind of, you'll always have a completely different game of just what you want to throw in. I know they did the same thing with Carcassonne. I don't own Carcassonne. Uh, I think I saw a picture on Reddit about someone who played with every single Carcassonne expansion, and it took them like
Nuts.
hours. It took them
Yeah.
hours to play and hours to score, and their table was covered. It was pretty impressive. I can only imagine doing that with Alhambra. All right, guys, let's do our Alhambra day with 43 expansions.
Time to get out. Let's combine the tables.
You're right. You guys all brought your 4x6 gaming tables, right? But yeah, this is a game that I think stands the test of time, kind of like in the Ticket to Ride uh style, where it's like, hey, this came out years ago, but people are still playing it. People are
Right.
still wanting to get it. I'm not saying you have to get the mega box or anything, But if you really like Alhambra, then just having variety is there. So yeah, that's my number 72, Alhambra.
All right, my number 72 is a game I believe you talked about on the last list as well. It was 67 last year, so just dropped a couple spots. This is probably where it's going to nestle in at. Um, but I don't have every single thing for this game because I think it gets too convoluted if you have everything going for it. And that is Terraforming Mars. I'm happy with this game playing with the Prelude expansion, throwing colonies in, and maybe the Venus. It just depends on how saucy I'm feeling, but
Mhm.
but colonies and Prelude are the ones I play with the most with this one. Especially Prelude's a must. Like Prelude is
Yeah.
like
Yep.
that is the given one.
Yep.
Um, but I don't have anything really past that for this game. This game is, a lot of people have compared Arc Nova to this. There are similarities, but it doesn't kill it. We had that conversation when you were talking about this as well.
Yep.
They're both, I mean, they have a little bit of similarities, but nothing. They're both completely different games. This one got some heat at one point. Was it this expansion for this, or was it that had
I
all
think
the AI stuff that people were throwing a fit about?
it was their latest Kickstarter with like the
Yeah.
Prelude 2 and
Oh,
whatever
that's right.
shit they were
That's right.
throwing in.
Yeah. So, I mean, this game does not have great components. It does not have great art. But it still is a top 3 game on BGG, maybe something like
I think
that.
it's fallen, but
It's 6 now.
yeah, so it's basically out of the list.
Right.
Like no one likes it.
but for it to be that shitty with components and to still have risen that high speaks for the gameplay.
Yeah.
And then, I know they started fixing stuff with that one Kickstarter had like the recess boards. I had bought my own
Oh,
recess
yeah.
boards and stuff. So and those are musts no matter what brand or whatever you buy because of just all the cube movement and resource management and crap. But yeah, this one, oh yeah, and this is that picture again, just like what you had, the peasant without the recessed boards.
Yeah.
So,
Tell me you're
but
poor without telling me that you're poor. Who the hell doesn't have recessed boards?
but yeah, this one is a really neat thing with you get your tableau building. There's a little bit of player interaction, but not. I mean,
Because you didn't get the big box for this, did you?
no, I
Yeah.
considered it, but
So
I
I
don't get
do
the
have
full
it. It obviously gives a 3D element. It definitely
right.
enhances the experience. The most fucked up thing that they did for whatever reason was if you got the metal cubes, every single cube came in its own bag.
Seriously?
100%. Like these little crack bags that I'm pretty sure that
Yeah.
they were doing before they packaged the fucking thing. It blew my mind because it's like, oh, this is a game about colonizing Mars. God. Um, so they must want to destroy the planet because then their game's a reality. I was like, wow, like that kind of shows a little bit about just their production. I just I don't
Well,
get it. I don't know why they did something like
they
that.
probably didn't want the metal cubes to scratch each other in the one bag, because then they would have had to replace them because people would have complained that their metal cubes were scratched.
I guess it's I don't know, but and it's not like I mean because now you have green games that are coming out that are like, hey, this is just a
Mhm.
recycled cardboard box with no plastic in it, and it's like, okay, cool, like yeah, I mean, the production's still kind of shit. Terraform Mars was way ahead of the curve. They were like, hey, our production is already shit, uh, but we really want to kill the planet. Yeah,
Yeah.
I will never forget that.
Yeah, and like I said, I have all that I'll ever need for this.
Hmm.
I have played Ares Expedition. I do really enjoy Ares Expedition. It's more of just the card version of this without the
Yeah.
board and all that stuff. Um, I have not played the dice version of this that kickstarted. I don't even know if it's out yet, but there was a Kickstarter for the dice for Terraforming Mars dice game or whatever, and this is fine. Ares
Yeah.
Expedition's fine if you want a shorter game, it takes up less space.
Yeah. I don't know why. This game I just have weird stories around because you mentioned Ares Expedition. There was a person on my channel, he was commenting on a lot. I think I've told the story before, but he was commenting on a lot of my videos. And I have a few of those, people who actually like the channel. Shocker. But they they comment quite a bit, which is cool. Like I like seeing that. But this guy was a little much. Maybe he was new to the hobby. You have an experience of like that, someone who just gets into it and they really are like,
Mhm.
I'm fucking,
Oh yeah.
and you're
Yep.
like, dude. But then Ares Expedition comes out and it went to Target first. And then before I went to the Kickstarter backers, someone told me, like, by the way, this dude is insane because he was on the Kickstarter for Ares Expedition making death threats, like saying how all the people behind her need to be killed. And like, and I was like, I'm gonna go ahead and block this dude before he figures out where I live. Just
Put your
yeah,
head in a
and
box.
huh?
Put your head in a board game box.
Right in the terraforming Mars. What's in the box? Uh, So yeah, that I'll never forget that guy because I was like, oh, that's pretty neat that he's commenting on a lot of stuff, and then I'm like, oh, he's a little intense. That's all right. Then yeah, lo and behold, the people at Stronghold Games need to have their family massacred because my game didn't come to me first. It went to Target.
Yeah,
Like
and that happens
priorities.
that happens with a lot of Kickstarters, and I just don't get the anger behind it because like you're getting a pimped out, cooler version of it. Like that version that went to Target was so cheaply made,
Yeah,
like in flimsy and paperboard crap. I mean, it's like,
yeah,
yeah, it went there first, but you're gonna get
yeah.
your cool copy.
It's like you do not need to play a game that bad.
Right, exactly.
Not a my number one game, I do not need to play that bad to be making death threats
Right,
because
exactly.
a copy came out. It's like I'll get it eventually.
Yep. All right,
Anyway,
that's
yeah,
72.
Terraform Mars still great. Mhm.
Yeah.
All right, and last one for this segment, my number 71, which is a pretty significant fall. It was number 11
Oh wow.
last year. And number 16 the year before. And this one, I've been talking about it actually since we started the top 100, or I've mentioned it. Again, this one would, if I play it, probably jumps up to number 11 again, or at least in top 20. I just haven't played it, and this is kind of, it's funny in the Dice Tower's top 100, they mentioned a few games that kind of have this, and even with this one that for these big box expansions that is a great storage solution, but sometimes you just look at it and you're like, that's a lot that I have to like look through. This game kind of has that a little bit, also being a complex game, and that is Anachrony. So with the Infinity Box I'm talking about, like there's other games that do this where it's like it's a storage solution, which is what everyone is wanting, but for some reason, once it's all organized, it's kind of a pain in the ass to want to search through because Anachrony has a lot of expansions and a lot of modular stuff that you throw in. But what makes this one harder at the same time to get to the table is it's pretty complex. I think out of Septima, Tricarion, and this one is the most complex one. Now, if like, and all it takes is just refresh of the rules and just putting in a modicum of effort to teach it. Uh, I've taught this game to people who don't play these kinds of games, and they do well. This game is still brilliant in design. Absolutely love the theme of uh like a meteor heading down to Earth. You have like a premonition of that. You're trying to prep for that with your civilization, and then uh that's like the theme of the game is like, okay, well, we have to evacuate. Whoever has the most points is like the leader of the new world. Some small elements of time travel, you can like reach back to be able to grab resources, but if you do that too many times, you create paradoxes which can cause you to start getting negative points, and you have to send your workers to close them, but that kills the worker. What's really cool about this game is you have like two boards. You have your faction board, your civilization board, and you have the main board. The main board requires, no, it doesn't require, but it has areas where you want to send specific workers because they are specialized in that. Like you want to send an engineer to the mining location because he's not going to come back exhausted and he's going to get you more resources. You want to send a scientist to a certain section because they're not going to come back exhausted. But you're getting all these resources to build buildings that go in your civilization to get you kind of like your own inherent engine. Because to send the people out into this wasteland, you have to have them in these mechs. Now, this is the deluxe version that I I have. I also have recessed boards. No, not for this game, but the exosuits, you slot the worker in, that's how they are able to go out onto the main board. So you want to get buildings that are like, hey, now I don't have to go out there to get water. I can get water in here. All while vying for public objectives, private objectives, super projects, which are kind of what are above these that are really powerful abilities. There's a lot that's going on. There's a doomsday module. There's another, like, fuck, there's just so many expansions to Anachrony. Yeah, Fractures of Time, the Future Imperfect, Doomsday Pack. There's leaders, which give you special abilities, like your own, like, leader for your faction has special abilities. It's definitely a lot. And I'm appreciative of the Infinity Box being around, because at least it's organized instead of millions and millions of bags like Terraforming Mars likes to do. It's a really, really good game. So I know sometimes it's like, oh man, it dropped 60 spots. Like, do I even really like it? Yeah, absolutely. It's still in my top 100. And every year, well, actually, past couple years, I haven't included games that I don't own. So my uh, list of games that I'm ranking is kind of smaller, but still a ton of games to contend with that it makes it into the top 100. So yeah,
Yeah.
Anachrony, kind of this whole segment of games that fell are games that if I play them, they'd be super high up, but then if I don't play them, they're super far down.
Yep.
And Anachrony is no exception. But I will say, this isn't one like the last three, TI, Cosmic Encounter, and Unfathomable. I don't need 6 people to play this. Like I could grab this and be like, and play with 2 and have a fantastic time.
I need to try this. I mean, it's one that I theme wise and everything. I think this the Mind Clash game that intrigues me the most. Plus, I've heard the solo is really top notch. So,
Who'd you hear that from?
well, multiple sites. I mean, you've said it, but then a lot of my online podcasts and stuff, I'll talk about how this is awesome and stuff. So,
yeah, the Anachrony solo variant, which okay, that's right. David Turchi is a designer. I would say it's his best. Like it's really, really good. This entire time I kept trying to think, well, because I kept mentioning Septima and Tricarion. They also did Perseverance, which was the dinosaur game, and then Voidfall, which out of all the Voidfall, I guess that would be kind of a miss for me with Mind Clash, where it's like Voidfall, I see the brilliance of the design, I never want to play it again.
No.
But the rest of them, I'm like, yes, let's play it again. So yeah, that's my 71 Anachrony.
All right, my number 71 is another one that you mentioned in your last list or two. I can't remember exactly where it fell. It was 62 for me last year. It's fallen just this little bit, mainly because I haven't played it. It's a big box of stuff that we both have everything for, and we're waiting on stuff. I actually looked up while you were talking because we're waiting on the expansion materials that have been sitting in port for 2 years now, that Steam Forged finally picked it up, and we should be getting it at some point in the near future.
Oh.
And that is Street Masters. Yeah, November 28th, Steamforge sent out that update saying there is enough inventory. We'll send out a deal when we know more of a timeline. So
Cool. And
anyway.
then didn't they say they want to make more content for it?
I didn't really dig into it too much. I was just looking for dates. So yeah, it's quite possible. But so anyway, this one, like what you had said prior, it's just your whole Street Fighter, Final Fight, whatever kind of theme. There's tons and tons of characters, tons of bad guys, tons of locations that you battle in. This uses that modular deck system that the Sadler brothers used. You combine a bad guy with a location, and I think in there don't you do like a villain group or something too? You shuffle in. I can't remember. It's been a while.
No, it's like a bad group, the stage, and your character.
Yeah. So yeah, you do all that stuff, and then you just pretty much battle through minions until you take out the main boss guy. And you do it over a grid system, a hex-based grid system, and the teamwork of this is really cool when you're playing with stuff. I just remember when you and I were playing one game, you had the guy that was just like, I don't know where he was pulling the weapons out of. He was like the weapons guy, and you just kept
him
tossing,
clenched between his butt cheeks.
Somewhere, but you kept tossing me like all these really cool weapons, and I was hitting. So like I'd use up weapons, and you'd be like, "Oh, here, pull out stuff, start chucking it to me."
Right.
There's a lot of synergies and stuff that go on with this. There's environmental stuff you have to watch out for, but you also, like you'd said when you were talking about this, you eventually get this one time like super power up. You'll flip your card over and you can use it, and it's a really powerful ability. There's a lot of stuff going on in this game, but there's the replayability in that box, because we both have the big cube box that has I think Aftershock box or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
That has all this crap. The only thing I don't like is there's not good mini storage, and I think you brought that up too. They're pretty much just in a bag on
just sitting
top of
on
the
top.
box.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's all this new stuff. It's just another expansion, some more characters, stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, this is one of those ones. I can't remember if this might have been the first Sadler brother game maybe I played. I think it might have been.
Definitely. Yeah, all right, because this is one you showed me.
Yeah, so this was the first Sadler, and then we went from there, but yeah, this is just a really tight game. I enjoy the theme of it, and it's just kind of a neat deal. And for solo play, there's like stories you can play for each character that runs through stuff as well. So it's a really good solo experience as well. So yeah, I mean, not sure what else to really say. I mean, it's a dice-based battle system as well, so you're rolling dice, doing different stuff. But yeah, I mean, that's really about it. My 71 Street Masters.
Sweet. All right. Well, that was that segment, everyone. Lots of good games to talk about, and even better games in the future. So let us know what you think of these games in the comments below. Stick around for the rest of the top 100, and like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.
Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.